With over a century of cinema, there are shockingly few movies about racing. However, over the years, one in particular has stood out not necessarily as an incredible bit of storytelling, but more as an amazing documentation of a real moment in racing itself. There's no doubt that the movie Le Mans has helped lure multiple generations to these hallowed grounds in the French countryside. Will our drivers today add to this incredible lore? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the Turn 2.0 Flying Huskies, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Le Mans is a lot of circuit to cover, so let's head to our track guide to get a quick rundown. Welcome to Le Mans. When you talk about legendary circuits, this is a place that stands among the most famous in the world. Part permanent road course, part temporary street circuit, it traipses through the countryside just south of the city where it gets its namesake. Its size matches its reputation as well, clocking it at 8.5 miles, which equates to roughly 13.5 kilometers. However, when you take into account that it's split by only 33 turns, the frighteningly fast nature of this circuit becomes clear. Most of the corners have been added over the century of history it's experienced, but many have become renowned and respected. The two turns at the opposite ends of the massively long Mulsanne Straight play equally important roles. Tertre Rouge requires a great exit in order to not lose massive amounts of time, while Mulsanne Corner takes bravery and precision in order to brake as late as possible and keep opponents from passing you on the way in. There's also hair-raising moments like the tricky entry to Indianapolis, or the close walls along the bridge section in the Porsche curves. To win here, drivers will need a very low downforce setup, a good sense of strategy, and heaps of bravery. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is the crown jewel of endurance racing, which many drivers dream of someday winning and many fans flock to witness in person. Once you've driven the track here on iRacing, it's easy to see why. Well, instead of racing sports cars today, DJ, we have the Formula 3 cars out here. How are you expecting that to go?
Well, Joe, it's going to be a little bit different from your normal standard fare around Le Mans. These Formula 3 cars are open wheel, so they're going to handle a little bit differently. There is going to be, I think, a little bit more downforce generation than what we're used to seeing, so they may be able to handle the Porsche curbs and down through the S's and past the Dunlop Bridge a little better, but there are a couple of things that they're going to have to really keep in mind. For starters, the chicanes around this track and the curbing around them. We're very used to seeing GT and prototypes aggressively attack the curbing coming through the Ford chicanes. These F3 cars are going to have to be very, very careful about that. We've seen a couple of times that if you get too aggressive in open wheelers on the iRacing service, those suspensions do not like it. The other thing that is going to be very, very tricky for these drivers to keep in mind, well, it all has to do with the Mulsanne Straight and those chicanes that were added in a number of years ago. Number one, these cars are not used to that continuous top speed that we're used to seeing down through that area. And when they tuck up behind another car in the draft, I think there is a very real possibility we could see some cars popping into the rev limiter in 6th gear. So timing the pass is going to be very, very crucial in how these drivers are going to want to handle that. That can also be the case when you're coming out of the Mulsanne hairpin and down into Indianapolis. And then the final thing that we're going to have to keep in mind in these cars is because of those high speeds, the brakes are going to be a little bit cooler than drivers are used to. So going into Mulsanne, going into those chicanes on the Mulsanne Straight, these drivers are going to have to really roll the brake pedal on. If they try to jab the brake pedal on cool brakes, that's going to be a one-way ticket to a lockup. So it's something they're going to have to be watching out for.
No doubt about that, as we get an example of that slipstream around this place setting up to the Porsche curves. But let's also talk about our sponsors, including Norsled. They are a non-profit animal welfare organization dedicated to rescuing, rehabilitating, and finding homes for unwanted, abandoned, and abused husky dogs. Today, every Flying Husky Racing track day or car event benefits Norsled, with a portion of the proceeds donated to them. Even if you can't adopt, you can still help and ensure care for these amazing animals through your support. Save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing.
Flying Husky Racing is a car club based in the Pacific Northwest that delivers premium track days and car events for automotive enthusiasts. FHR is dedicated to safety, development, and building community among members and participants. Find out more on the web at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing. Track days are the best days.
And then there's the Turn 2.0 Drivers Club. It's a car club based in Northern California and founded in April of 2020. The club runs approximately 20 private days a year at Sonoma Raceway and Thunder Hill. It was created as a private, exclusive membership club designed for and by race car, track day, and racing enthusiasts that share like-minded values. These include safety first, camaraderie, fairness, diverse interests, love of cars, and a desire to learn and grow as drivers on and off the track. Have fun, be safe, and go faster.
And our final sponsor tonight is VSRS Motorsports. VSRS Motorsports is a multi-purpose consulting business focusing on motorsports marketing and digital media space, as well as exotic, historic, and race car sales and other experiential events for car enthusiasts. Contact Rick Shelton to learn more about VSRS Motorsports. Cool people, cool cars, cool events.
Well, these cool cars have been running quite a season so far, so let's glance at the championship. Kurt Pansgrau is now our points leader. Rick Sheldon currently in second, with Dan Dwyer being demoted to third. Hasn't shown up in a bit, but he is here today. David Anderson and Todd Curtis round out the top five, with really the closest battles being between third and fourth, Dwyer and Anderson. What about today's race details? Because we do have a bit of a different event going on here, DJ.
We do. Well, you are used to seeing a 20-minute race for these Flying Husky boys out here today, but today we're doing the 25 minutes of Le Mans. That's right, we've got a 25-minute race in store for you. As we mentioned, we are racing the Dallara F3s with a 25-minute qualifying session. Drivers are currently on track right now for that. That will be followed by that 25-minute race, and a fast repair will be available to the drivers, but Joe, I gotta say, you don't want to take that around Le Mans because it is such a long track. If you damage the car and you have to limp all the way back around, that might as well just put a nail in the coffin of your race.
Certainly. And, well, right now the qualifying is underway. Stefan Wilson holds the provisional pole position, but the checkered flag has just come out. Everybody on their hot laps has a chance to finish. This looks like a wild end of the lap for Nolan Siegel, who joins us once again, and he's going to abandon it as he's not happy with how that seemed to be going there at the end. Next one is going to be Dan Dwyer. Actually, it looks like Grant Carpenter will be before him. No, he just spun out. That's the smoke that you see it in front of Dwyer, who actually shoves Dan off the track. And so Dan's lap will also not count, unfortunately.
It's a tough break there for Dan. He is currently all the way down the order in 12th. It's been very, very difficult for these drivers to get a clean lap in today. Very, very easy to get an off track around here. The limits on iRacing, very easy to run afoul of.
Now, some of the names in today's race will probably raise some eyebrows, and race fans will recognize a few. I already mentioned Stefan Wilson. Yes, it is that Stefan Wilson of IndyCar fame, who has had some experience in these F3 cars. Not these specifically, but raced in British F3 back in 2000. Also got, I see Anders Krohn here, DJ.
Yeah, Anders is obviously a former race car driver himself, most recently known for his commentary work on NBC Sports, so great to see Anders there. Also seeing Tyler McQuarrie popping on the top of the list. Around at your top three, Tyler is an IMSA Pilot Challenge driver right now, so good to see some real-life race car drivers mixing it up with our Flying Husky Racing regulars.
Absolutely. And it looks like those regulars have been set in stone on the qualifying, as nobody else can put a time in. So here is our starting grid. Or actually, it will be in just a second here as we let things tick over. while we wait for the session to switch up. And now we've hit that moment where we can pile through that. So, as we mentioned, it is Stefan Wilson who is on the top step here. And it is going to be Anders Krohn who starts in second today. Then you've got Tyler McQuarrie who starts in third. Nolan Siegel who is in P4. And John Showerman in the fifth position. Maurice Smith starts P6. And then it's Kurt Pansgrau in seventh. Dave Anderson in eighth. Rick Sheldon in ninth. And Cameron Shields in 10th.
In 11th is going to be Todd Curtis, followed by Dan Dwyer. Behind him, Dave Hollers and John Trefethen, followed by Grant Carpenter and John Fowler.
Looks like all the cars are gridded up. Standing start here for this race. As the lights come up, the engines start to rev and the green flag flies off the line. It looks decent for Wilson, as Krohn also gets a pretty good run, but he's going to be on the outside once they hit the braking into the Dunlop chicane. Behind them, a bit of a challenge between McQuarrie and Siegel. And here up into second, looks like Krohn is going to send it in deep, but can't quite take it. Oh, we got a number of cars involved. Looks like Maurice Smith in that accident, as well as looks like Cameron Shields. I see Kurt Pansgrau. We're going to go back to that in a little bit and try to dissect that incident. That takes a number of runners out very early.
It does, Joe, and exactly what I was talking about a little earlier in the broadcast, mentioning how long of a time you've got to limp around the track. That's really going to hurt him. But now we're going to see these cars, the top four, staying as they were when they started. That's Wilson, Krohn, McQuarrie, and Siegel. They're going to start to tuck up behind in the draft here, trying to time this right. It looks like McQuarrie's starting to think about making a move on that pink machine of Anders Krohn.
Indeed, it looks like Nolan Siegel as well, and that number 10 has a good run. Krohn can't defend. Oh, but he's just going to barely nudge into the back of him. That sends him through the gravel runoff and past the tire barriers. Krohn able to continue, but I wonder if his front wing is going to be damaged from that contact. McQuarrie also continues on now into third.
Yeah, I'm looking there at Krohn's front wing. It doesn't look like there's too much damage, so he's going to be hopefully continuing on here. These cars now lining up for the second part. There you see, I think that's McQuarrie ducking out to the inside.
Yes, as they now hit the second chicane. A little bit of a battle back here as well. That's Dave Anderson on the inside of the number 98 of Grant Carpenter. That's going to get him into seventh. Ooh, a big off track there for Nolan Siegel. I wonder if he's going to have a cut course penalty, and indeed, that is him slow. So I suspect that is the case.
Yeah, and that can happen here at Le Mans. There's not a lot of natural barrier on certain parts of the track, so it's very, very easy to get those cut course penalties. We ride on board with Nolan here. Nolan coming in. You've got to be very careful. Wow, that's a late move into Mulsanne.
Whole lot of tire smoke into there, and somehow they all come out the other side. Siegel up into seventh, Carpenter eighth, and Dwyer into ninth. But Dan's got a great run. He's already won multiple races, but he's got a long ways to go to try and do it here today, as he's just now fighting for P7. And
he was very, very off in our qualifying. Didn't look to have the fastest car, but here he goes. This is going to be the outside, but he will be on the inside coming into Indianapolis. Looks like he's got the advantage done, so he's going to move his way forward. Now starts to line his way up. That is Siegel ahead of him.
And a car off into the barrier, Indianapolis. Dave Hollers, unfortunately, binning it here on lap one. We're going to watch the replay. I think he just went a little too hot into this corner.
All right, so here he goes. He's got the car lined up for it. Yep, that's exactly what happened. Takes a little bit of the curb and jumps right over. That is a mistake that we see drivers make all the time in the 24 hours of Le Mans. Very, very easy thing to do, but it looks like he's able to at least get back underway, although I think there's definitely some front wing damage.
Back up to fifth place, a fight between Anderson and Siegel. Siegel, another one that comes with a bit of similar experience to this car, races in the USF 2000, which you actually can run here on iRacing. I'm sure he'd like to be able to get in there to try and ply his trade, but for now he's attempting to make the 62 sweat as they finish the first lap of the day, and I think it might work. That was a big bobble under braking for Dave.
Yeah, big lockup, and again going through the second part of the Ford chicanes. Here comes Siegel, a lot more momentum off the corner. Now he is importantly going to have the inside line when they start to sweep up the hill, but he's not going to need that inside line. He's already ahead.
All right, Siegel up to P5 after starting this one in fourth. Just one more spot to get himself back where he began. And he's got about 6.5 seconds to make up that, so that is certainly going to be some work. John Showerman is the next one up the field to attempt that. We lost about 5 cars from the opening incident. Let's take a look at the replay to try and suss out what exactly happened on this first lap.
We're going to start off here focusing on Rick Sheldon in that red, white, and black machine. There you see him. So they're coming up the hill here, and now you've got a breakdown for this left-right complex. Looks like that was a tangle in front of him that Sheldon just got mixed up in.
Let's watch from above, see if we can dissect it. Oh, you know what? I think this starts with Smith getting hit by Shields. The 12, yeah, that's the 12 in the blue car, and just sends him around. And unfortunately, everybody was so packed in as they were braking for that chicane that most couldn't make avoiding action. Yeah, there you see Smith still in the pits. I think he is calling it a day. And Joe, that is one of the reasons why they do what they call an Indianapolis start at Le Mans. If you try to start at a standing start going into that, it is very difficult and when you're all packed in like that. All right, so Stephen Wilson and the number 1 still leading the way, but only by about 2.5 seconds. Anders Krohn also trying to keep hot on that tail. 2.5 seconds might sound like a lot after a single lap, but keep in mind that these are laps that are nearly 4 minutes long. Watching from Anders' perspective in the now defunct Racing Point livery, it has been replaced with a beautiful green. I must say, I do like the new Aston Martins. I certainly do too, and I was very much approving of a certain British spy who came on and introduced the cars. I got a big kick out of that one when they did it. But here you see Krohn as he starts to pilot it down. Now this is the part of the track where you're just at absolute full tilt, but this is where the nerves start to get in. You've got to swing the car hard to the right here, keep it onto the right side of the road to break down into Indianapolis. That is a banked on camber corner, hence why it's called Indianapolis. It's very reminiscent of that. Well, didn't seem to gain him a whole lot. Ooh, we can take it right out to the edge of the track there through Arnage. He's still stuck at about 2.1 seconds behind Stephen Wilson. Both he and Stephen are drivers that have run in the Indy Lights series. And I'm sure it feels like just an old rivalry between these two. Down into the Porsche curves. Maybe Krohn can find himself a little bit of time through here, see who's quicker. Well, and this is the area of the track where if you really, really trust the car, you've got it tuned up just right, doing exactly what you want it to do, you can push the limits of grip, take it a little bit more flat. There you can see he feels the ability to take it out wide coming through the edge. Now, we had a few cars come back out after their repairs, and unfortunately for Rick Sheldon and Todd Curtis, they had another big accident down into the first chicane. So I'm afraid they might have to come right back into the pits from that one. Not sure if we need a replay, but they certainly outbraked themselves. Let's instead head to Maurice Smith. Mo, we talked about him being involved in that first incident. Well, now he's got Dave Hollers with him after Dave came in and took some repairs of his own. Yeah, so both of these drivers able to get back out and get going again. Looks like there that Mo was able to get a good run out of that second chicane to really be able to get some good turn out here. He's got a good advantage over Hollers as they get ready to go down into the next corner. Yeah, it looked like Mo just had a fantastic run, and as they break for Mulsanne corner, trying to get it woed up, a little hot into there. You can see slightly off the apex for Hollers, and that's going to separate him all the more. I'm not sure how about it. Have you had a chance to figure out how the slipstream goes in these F3 cars here? Joe, at these speeds, it looks like it's running about 1.8 to even 2 seconds. You start to pick up a little bit of it. They are going that fast. Incredible. Yeah, I'm seeing Hollers at about 167. And he stayed about 1.3 seconds behind. A lot of smoke locking up that left front. Mo manages to successfully navigate Indianapolis. Another lockup there, as the 69 car just seems to be struggling to get the grip on some of his turn-ins.
Well, Joe, and that's exactly what I was talking about with really having to brake in a different style when you're coming off of those long of straightaways. Those, the brakes are just stone cold when you're doing that. These are open wheel cars. They are more exposed to the air than in a GT or a prototype, and so they will get way, way cooler. And so what you really have to do is almost think about it like you're accelerating out of a corner, how you're taught to just sort of very lightly push the throttle down slowly to get it up all the way to full. You want to do the same thing on the brakes, but in reverse. Just very slowly push it on. You don't want to be aggressive with the braking because those kind of lockups are exactly what can happen.
So we follow Hollers into the forward chicane. We see them complete lap 2. Whoa, and bounce over the curbs on top of it. Holler's going to give up another spot. I have to imagine he damaged the undertray with that incident. Pansgrau slips into 10th thanks to that mistake.
Yeah, there's no way the undertray of that car is not holding a lot of damage. The undertray on these cars not nearly as important as some of the other sort of downforce aero generators on the iRacing service, thinking about the LMP2s or the Lotus 79s, but it is still a very valuable piece of grip that you want to get the maximum from, so Hollers is really going to be hurting now.
Well, in spite of our leaders being separated by nearly a second in qualifying, Krohn and Wilson on race pace are so evenly matched that they are still at 2.3 seconds. So this is quite impressive, the way that Anders has been sticking with this. I mean, maybe it could be a little bit of what you were talking about earlier, that he's getting just a hint of that slipstream.
I certainly think that's a part of it, Joe. You know, when they were coming into the Porsche curves there, that gap was hovering at about 2.2, 2.3 seconds. On the exit, Krohn's got a problem.
Yeah, a slowdown penalty. He went wide through Maison Blanche, and that's going to gap it from 2.3 to now looks like close to 5 seconds as he finally gets it back up to speed. And on top of that, Wilson setting the fastest lap of the race at the same time.
That's got to be a little bit of insult to injury there for Anders Krohn. But now what this is going to do for him is he's got to be watching in his rearview mirror because Tyler McQuarrie now only about 2.4 seconds behind. If Krohn makes another mistake like that, McQuarrie's going to be all over.
Yeah, he's certainly got a good shot at things. Let's see if he can keep the pace up. Last lap for Tyler to 350.6. Which is pretty close to what Anders ran on his second lap. So I think it is doable. Of course, we can't really tell what it would have been like for Anders on this most recent one since he had that slowdown penalty, and that kind of changes up the perception of it. Boy, that 5 really did get away lucky, though. Remember, he had the big run-in on lap 1 getting into the back of, I think it was, I'm trying to remember who it was that he tipped into.
I think it was Siegel, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're right. It was Siegel that he made contact with. Watching from on board Tyler now. The number 39 coming out of the first chicane. Heading down the Mulsanne for the second time. Up to 150 miles an hour already as these things certainly fly in a straight line. Maybe not quite like an LMP1 hybrid, but still, they are not slow by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. And when you are going this absolutely fast, flying 175 miles an hour, you have to be so picture perfect with your braking zones, Joe. If you miss that by just the mere fraction of a second, that equates to yards and yards of distance that you will have missed your braking zone by. So the ability of these drivers to get it right every lap, it's so incredibly impressive.
Speaking of impressive, we've only lost, I think, 2 drivers. John Fowler, who I think was did not start, and Grant Carpenter is back in pit lane. Looks like he's able to take his spare car, get back out. But otherwise, everybody is trying to keep going and make sure that they at least see the checkered flag here. I guess that's just as important, whether it's 24 hours or 25 minutes. But so far, on course to be the first to take the checkered flag is Stefan Wilson with a 4.9 second gap to the car behind. Even though, of course, Wilson hails from Indiana Club here in the service. He is from the UK originally.
I was going to say that's a very, very strange thing to see. I was thinking to myself, I've met Stefan Wilson once at a point, and I don't think he had an Indiana accent, if I remember correctly.
No, definitely not. No, he's definitely from the UK, hence why he competed in the British F3 series. Of course, came over to the States to try and see how he could do. As we now hop on the roll bar of our leader, working his way through the Porsche curves into karting. And let's see how he does out of Corvette. Any quicker than Crone, who had that off track, that slowdown penalty. That one looked a little bit more clean for the number one, and indeed it keeps the speed up, doesn't have to give the time back, and sends it right into the forward chicane.
When you can see the suspension just taking those loads there through there, being very careful not to get up onto those big red sausage curves on the second part of the forward chicane, runs it through on that. Another fastest lap for Stefan Wilson. He is just in the zone out here today.
You talk about consistent too. Lap 3 was a 3:48.762. This one, a 3:48.738 hundredths off of his previous lap. Crone, what has he got now that he comes through? A 3:49.5. So that was actually still quite a ways off of Stefan's last lap, unfortunately. In fact, that was about 8/10 off, I want to say. Not looking good for Anders if he wants to try and challenge for the victory here.
No, not exactly. And, you know, Joe, I would want to say that maybe that damage is taking into account a little bit there for Crone, but I think that he's just a little off pace. He was about 0.7 of a second off of Wilson qualifying.
And I think another problem for Grant Carpenter seems like he is wrecked again. I think this was in Mulsanne corner, but we'll check in on him later. We've talked a lot about the top three, Wilson, Crone, Macquarie. Let's take a look at the rest of the field, see where they sit. John Showerman has started this race in 5th, moved up 1 spot, but he's a long ways back from 3rd currently, about 7.5 seconds right now. Still, he's on a net gain, and that's not something to be ashamed of, so it's at least looking like a good points day for John.
Nolan Siegel lines up behind him in 10th. Nolan, obviously the beneficiary of that early first lap contact with Anders Crone, fell down the order. He is down 1 spot from his starting position of 4th, but he has been on a little bit of a charge here, the California driver has, so I think he is going to be hoping he can catch up to John Showerman and take that P4.
Dave Anderson up 2 spots from his starting position. He was qualified in 8th, and he's up to 6th. Another one, a little ways to go, 5.8 seconds, so almost 6 seconds here up to Nolan Siegel. In fact, he's probably worried about the driver behind him, it looks like, BJ.
And that driver is the number 8, the man who dominated the early part of this series, Dan Dwyer. He is now only about 1.8 seconds behind Dave Anderson, so he's another one on a charge here, hoping to have a good result at Le Mans.
From there, you get a giant gap back. Mo Smith is over 2 minutes behind Dan Dwyer. Remember, he was one of those involved in that opening incident. He's done the best at trying to recover of any of those drivers that have had to come in and take their spare cars, but he's going to have to hope that someone in front of him has a big issue and another wreck if he wants to take any more spots from here on out.
Behind Mo is Kurt Pansgrau, your current points leader. We see him making his way through the S's right now. Pansgrau, obviously another one of those drivers who's involved in the early incident. He is down 2 positions from his starting position, but he has done a good job to claw his way forward. Going to be hoping to make the most out of a rough day.
Also got Cameron Shields here, another driver from the USF 2000 School of Racing, who is trying to compete, so sits in 12th, but not the introduction he wanted.
Behind Cameron is Dave Hollers, the driver of the 769, doing a nice little off track there for the cameras. Dave is up 2 positions from his original starting position, doing a pretty good job here to keep some consistent laps going in, doing the best that he can as he makes his way through the S's now.
Amazingly, all of those cars were on the lead lap, and this is our first driver a lap down. I guess that's a testament to just how long it takes to get around here. Rick Sheldon, who runs in 12th, apologies, Cameron Shields is in 10th, who I reported a little bit earlier. And Rick, having started this one from 9th, is actually moving backwards. But we've talked about how he's had multiple problems. Ran into Todd Curtis, who is right behind him, actually, by a few seconds.
And this is Todd Curtis of Norsled fame and fortune. You can see him making his way through that twisting ending part and taking a long wide out here. Now, he is also a lap down 3 positions from his starting position. He's having a little bit of a trouble here, it looks like, keeping a good lap together, but he is out there putting in a good effort for the Norsled team.
And finally, 15th out there, John Trefethen, once again in a spare car, and the number 7 is just plugging away. He is still only 1 lap down, so we've got nobody farther back than that. John Fowler, as we mentioned, did not start. We're going to 4th place now. Siegel still on the back of Showerman by about a second and a half. Oh, huge lockup from John on his way in, but he keeps it on the track. Let's see if Siegel gains any from that error.
It looks like he was able to gain about 2.5 tenths of a second there. So Siegel just slowly but surely applying pressure. Joe, we always talk about the mind games that these drivers play with one another. I think that's part of what Nolan's thinking of doing here today. Now, he has got that gap down to 1.3 seconds right now. He is going to be able to take full advantage of the draft.
Getting ever closer, but the laps are ticking away. In fact, we're going to get the white flag next time by for Stefan Wilson in front of them as these two come towards the Mulsanne corner up in front of them. That is Tyler McQuarrie, still trying to keep himself out of reach, which he's doing quite well. It's about 8 seconds. That's the next car. That is just how long of a distance it is down these straightaways. It's only part of the Mulsanne. We've got Wilson on screen once again. This, I think, is one of the trickiest braking zones on the whole course into Indianapolis, and Steph just makes it look easy, to be honest.
Well, that's what some of the best drivers do, Joe, and really what makes it absolutely so difficult is that corner, that sweeping right-hander before Indianapolis. It throws you out. You want to carry as much momentum as you can out to the outside of the track, but you immediately have to get back over to the right side to get onto the brakes for Indianapolis. And I know I've done it, and I've seen many other drivers do it, that you try to brake as you're moving across the track, and, well, your rear tires lock up, and you go spinning off into the wall.
So through bridge, taking it right up out to those curbs on the outside, and then switching back into karting. He's still got that fastest lap at a 3:48.4. In fact, hardly anybody close to him, a 48.6 for Anders Krohn, so about 2 tenths off. Krohn appeared to have picked it up last time through, down into the Ford chicane. Let's see what he can set this time. And then I'll have one more chance to try and improve upon that. So far, it seems like he is doing so every single lap. Across the line, 47.7. Man.
Goodness gracious, Stefan Wilson just absolutely delivering lap after lap here.
And Krohn had some sort of off or something, because he did at 350.9, so he's going the opposite direction. It's up to 8.3 seconds. Oh, and the battle is on. Look at this. For 4th place, Showerman has now been caught, and he's definitely giving a tow to Nolan.
He is. You see Showerman taking a big, wide arc there, going into the first complex of corners, trying to maximize as much around the track as he can. And there you see Siegel taking it a little bit wide as well.
Yeah, but he knows that he just has to keep it tight enough up until the Mulsanne, and he'll have a good opportunity to make a slam dunk pass. Here's Tertre Rouge, one of the most critical corners on the track. Getting that clean exit, a good launch will certainly make or break what you've got heading towards the first chicane. Showerman shortening it as much as possible, starts to toe in Nolan. It's 0.5 of a second as they pick up speed, 0.4 of a second. He's getting ever closer, 0.3 of a second. Will he run out of straightaway though? They're hitting the braking zone and they're hitting the rev limiter as they both slow it up.
But another lock up there for Showerman and a wide exit. That's going to hurt Siegel ever so slightly, but here he comes. He may have timed this a little bit better. Here comes Siegel. He's just trying to tuck up behind. Ooh, Showerman not making it easy for him.
Oh, he's trying to defend. He's going all the way off into the rough stuff. Oh, and then they come together. And there goes Showerman around and into the Armco. That was unfortunate to see it end in that fashion.
Oh, what was a really good battle. Ending in tears there for both drivers. Now Siegel is just going to have to hope he can limp that car back around the track, but we're going to pick up our leader, Stefan Wilson.
Looks like he's putting a lap on another car. Dave Hollers, who's going to stay out of his way. This appears to be on the run down towards Indianapolis here. Yeah, Hollers just pulls off to the side and then gets into the slipstream. One last lap that he has to do in this 25-minute event. Crone picked up a little bit of time, if I'm seeing correctly. It was a little over 8 seconds. It's now down to 7.8. Now that is interesting. I don't think it's anything Steph needs to worry about, mind you.
No, I don't think it is either, but I wonder if maybe just a little bit of that lapped traffic could have slowed him up ever so slightly. Steph just being a little bit cautious. There you see Anders popping into the back of your screen. Stefan clearly still has this well under lock.
Watching from Crone's perspective now, yeah, you can't even see Steph up in the distance. That's how far up he is at this point. But he's entering the Porsche curves, in which Wilson is just about out of them already. A couple more to go. Really only one more braking event left for Stefan Wilson. The number one heads through Maison Blanche and up towards the Ford chicane. He can take this as easy as he likes. He's got plenty of buffer. He's still going to chuck that car in, though. He's trying to go for as quick of a lap as he can for that personal satisfaction. Victory today for Stefan Wilson here at Le Mans.
An absolutely incredible flag-to-flag drive for Wilson. We now ride on board with Anders Crone, who is going to cross the line in second. Looked like he may have had a little bit of a challenge at the beginning, but still drove an absolutely impeccable race. And here comes Tyler McQuarrie to take third.
Nicely done by the 39. Siegel in fourth in a bit of a contentious manner. We'll see if he and Showerman have any words after that one, with Dave Anderson being promoted up to fifth as well because of John falling out on the last lap.
Dave takes it out of the Ford chicanes, and now he is going to cross the line of fifth place. Well-deserved there for him. Next one looks like to cross the line is going to be Dan Dwyer, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed, Mo Smith manages to finish on the lead lap. So does Pansgrau, and I believe Shields will as well. Otherwise, everybody behind them finishing a lap down, unfortunately. As you can see Mo coming through. I mentioned earlier, it's about 2 minutes to get up to the next car. So even though Dwyer is already well across, Maurice still has a long ways to go.
Well, it's one of the things that makes Le Mans such a spectacular endurance race is just the sheer breadth of this circuit. You know, it takes so long to get around here, but we don't mind because we get to watch these cars continue going on. So here comes Mo making his way through the excellent forest section of the track and lining down into this tricky braking zone.
You can see how hard it is to get that car and stay online, just dancing as it brakes. And then it's a quick burst to Arnage. Another little lockup on the inside, but he keeps it out of the barriers. That's the important bit. Won't need these tires after this anyways.
Exactly, Mo. Turn them down to the core while you can here. As we continue to watch him, now this is where as a driver you are just visualizing what's going to come. What the Porsche curves, line it up all the way to the left and throw it into that first corner. In these open wheelers, you're not going to be doing a lot of braking. It's going to be a lot of throttle lifting here, just finding the exact moment to feather as he works his way through the last sequence.
So Mo Smith with a 12-second lead over Pansgrau, not really too concerned about losing this 7th position. And he breaks it down into the forward chicane through the first part, getting it back across the track, and then it tightens and slows up. And that's going to be the race done for Maurice Smith. Pansgrau and Shields will trundle across the line, and that will be the last of our cars. But we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Le Mans. We just watched round 8 of the Turn 2.0 Flying Huskies, and it was Stefan Wilson showing up for his first virtual event here and really wiping the floor with everybody else. Anders Krohn gave him a run for his money at the start, and then his own mistakes were costly. He wound up nearly 10 seconds back in P2. Tyler McQuarrie was third, with Nolan Siegel finishing fourth, although there was an incident on the last lap that we'll see if we can talk to himself and John Showerman about. Dave Anderson was in fifth with Dan Dwyer in P6. Showerman wound up in seventh, with Mo Smith finishing P8. Then you've got Kurt Pansgrau in ninth, and Cameron Shields first one a lap down, rounding out your top 10.
In 11th was Dave Hollers, followed by Grant Carpenter and Rick Shelton behind him. Todd Curtis came home 14th, and John Trevethan in 15th, and John Fowler that did not start.
And it looks like we've got Stefan Wilson ready to talk to us, as he certainly put on a clinic today. 16 drivers, and he wound up the first one to the line. Stefan, congratulations. It looked pretty calm and smooth from our perspective. How did it feel for you?
Yeah, no, it was pretty fun race. You know, we started on the pole, and then just had a really clean race the whole way through. There was not much action. I got clean away from the start, and then a little bit of challenge from Anders into the first chicane, and then after that, I think he got involved in a bit of a squabble that gave me a gap to break the draft, and then the rest was just, keeping it clean and hitting the marks and trying to run clean laps.
Now, from what we saw, this was a bit of ways away from your British F3 days, and it was a slightly different car. But how much of that did translate to your experience here?
No, I do quite a bit of iRacing, and me and Anders are obviously really good buddies, and we race a lot against each other. And there's certain cars that he just has me covered. He's obviously a really, really competitive driver, and but the F3, I think it does go back to my time racing in British F3. I had the kind of nuances that you need to be able to extract the time out of it. I seem to always have the edge a little bit. So, and I knew it was going to be tough there. I saw some of the times that Noel Wynn and Anders were putting up in practice, and I thought, damn, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to beat this. But then the race came around and was able to just put things together.
Clearly, from the way that you certainly held control of this race. Now, we were pretty excited to see you come and join us for this round. Do you think you'll be able to make any more? Of course, in a week's time, we'll be heading to Laguna Seca.
Yeah, maybe. It just just depends on schedule and stuff like that, and how it works out. But I'm good friends with all the guys in the group here, and they're all really passionate about racing and about cars, and it's fun to come in and join them and hang out with them. And it's good banter as we're driving as well, in the session, and a good way to catch up with people.
Great stuff.
Hopefully I'll be back. I think there'll be one or two more I'll jump in on, but the sort of goal for this this series, this championship is for those guys. They're all kind of new to driving and new to racing, and it's a really good opportunity for them to sharpen their skills against each other in a fun environment like this.
I'm sure they won't be too disappointed if you don't steal too many wins down the line. But no problem. And congratulations on the win, and feel free to thank whoever helped make this win possible.
Yeah, I just got to thank my sponsors, me, and just want to say hi to my wife and fur kid upstairs. So.
That sounds like great backing there for Stefan Wilson. Up next, I believe DJ has caught up with Anders Krohn.
I have indeed, Anders. We're not used to normally seeing open wheel cars coming around Le Mans like this. I've got to imagine it's a whole lot of fun to drive them around like this.
Yeah, it was, and I just wish I could have made it a bit more interesting trying to chase down Stefan and stay in his draft. It just becomes so draft dependent around here that the moment you lose it, you're in a bit of trouble. But nonetheless, a lot of fun for sure.
Well, I was going to ask you a little bit about the draft. We obviously saw a little bit of contact early on. Was that affecting you at all? We couldn't really see any damage on the sim.
No, I don't think so, and I think it was from my end, I didn't even have a 0x on my screen, but clearly I had some contact with Nolan, so yeah, it definitely didn't give me any damage. So it was really just the matter of Stefan being quicker than me. So.
Well, we thought you may have had something for him there early on. If you hadn't had that damage, you think you could have maybe caught him down one of the runs on Mulsanne?
No, I don't think so. He was too consistent. The biggest thing, I was watching the splits as we were going around the lap, and when I wasn't making mistakes, I could keep with him, but I just made way too many mistakes. I got some slowdown penalties and all that kind of stuff. So, Steph and I, we do a lot of iRacing together, so we typically end up in these types of battles. I just wish I could have made it a bit closer.
Well, I guess that gives me a nice transition to my next question, which is, Stefan said he's going to try to come in once or twice more during the course of the season. Can we expect you to come back in at another race at some point?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm on East Coast time zone, so it's a bit late for me during a weekday. But I finally got peer pressured from Rick to join, and hopefully I can join a few more, because it is a lot of fun, and I actually watched the broadcast with you guys at Barber, and just thought it was a great show to watch. So hopefully I can partake, and if I can't partake, then definitely watch the broadcasts.
Well, thank you, my friend, and congratulations again on a second. Anybody you'd like to thank on your way out tonight?
I have iRacing. I don't know. No. It's just want to thank the Turn 2 Club for hosting this and for putting it all together. Because had it not been for Rick and Dave and all the guys involved with the Turn 2 Club, this wouldn't happen. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much, Anders, and congratulations again.
Thanks, DJ. Have a good one.
That was your second place finisher, Anders Krohn, and now Joe Peak has caught up with your third place finisher, Tyler McQuarrie.
Indeed. Tyler, congratulations on a podium. I have to imagine, though, this probably felt a little bit different than a Formula Drift car.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. That was super fun. I was hoping Nolan would stay right there. He got a great start. I was going to just follow him, and he outbraked himself a little bit. But it was good fun.
It looked like the carrot was dangling tantalizingly close for much of the race for you. Did you think that you could do anything to try and gain on him to at least get that slipstream and maybe try and get a little battle going?
The first couple laps, I thought I could stay with him. And then made a little mistake, and then the gap was just too big. And then I started thinking about my big championship. And I was just cruising.
That's understandable. Have you ever gotten a chance to race here at Le Mans, or maybe even the Bugatti circuit here at in the countryside of France?
No, never. It's bucket list, right? It's one of those
Absolutely.
you want to race on. I don't even race on it that much on iRacing, so it was kind of cool to do some laps around here.
Well, I guess the next question is then, do you think you'll be showing up for Laguna Seca, considering that might be a little bit more home territory?
Absolutely. It was super fun. Yeah, I'll definitely be there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing you back again, Tyler. And again, great job on a podium today.
Thank you.
And then with that, I believe DJ has caught up with a couple of our other drivers. DJ, who have you got with you?
Well, I think for first and foremost, I want to start with our fourth place finisher, Nolan Siegel. I hate to start with controversy, Nolan, but talk me through the little kerfluffle you had coming on Mulsanne on that last lap.
Yeah, well, on the last lap, I went to the inside, and it's pretty bumpy down there, to be honest, and I'd never really driven down on that. Like, there's kind of asphalt, and then it goes off to concrete and grass, and I hit a big bump and slammed into John, unfortunately. So that was unfortunate. But other than that, I mean, the race was all right after the first lap and then before the last lap.
Well, we'll just make sure to clip that middle section for you for the highlight reel and make that nice and good.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
We most certainly can. I guess just sort of moving down the order then, I want to go to John. That looked like it was shaping up to be a great battle. Some really good defense there from you. Talk me through seeing Nolan closing down on you. What was going through your mind?
I was looking for the white flag, mostly. I knew he was way faster than me, obviously. And for a while, he was back there. I didn't know if he had damage or something. Then he was picking me off like a second a lap or maybe more than that. And then I kind of knew he might get me, but I just tried to keep him on that left side into the second chicane. But I guess whatever, he hit something and kind of took me out. But I wasn't going to get to the podium anyway. So it was super fun racing. What a cool track. Those guys in the front were so fast. I didn't even see them after the second lap. They were so far ahead. But really, really fun out there.
We loved watching you guys fight. And up next, I've got Dave Anderson with me. Dave, it looked like you got a front row seat to all the chaos that happened in the very first corner. What was going through your mind when suddenly that exploded?
Well, just get out of the way because I knew the race had just changed dramatically in a couple of seconds. I made the choice to stay back just before the flag went down, the green flag. I heard the guys up front, they said, "Oh, this is the standing start." I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be bad." So that was a surprise to some people. And I figured I'd hang back and watch what happened in the first few because I wasn't going to catch the front five guys anyway. So, it was a bit of a show there, and I just tried to dance my way through it and got lucky to get through.
Yeah, from our perspective, there was a little bit of contact. Did you feel that, or did you have any sort of damage to the car that you could notice?
did feel a little on the left side as I got past the last spun car, and it seemed like I was a little off my pace that I was getting in practice and qualifying, but not so much that it really made a difference in the race.
Also got Dan Dwyer here, and Dan, unfortunately, the slew of victories that you saw at the start of the season seem to have dried up, but a sixth today, actually not too shabby considering you started this thing from 12.
Yeah, definitely. The field's been getting quite a bit stronger in the last several weeks, and yeah, I was very happy to get a P6 finish, given my pace and quali. Of course, in large part due to some of the incidents. But I was happy to, be able to avoid the incident at the beginning and then stay out of the way of some of the mayhem that happened on kind of the back half of the first lap as well.
Looked like your pace was picking up quite a bit over the course of the race itself. Was that just becoming more familiar with the track, or did the car seem to get better towards the end?
It did get better towards the end, and I don't know that I was quite hanging on to Dave's draft, but if I wasn't in his draft, I was certainly benefiting from watching his lines, and definitely, a little bit learning the track as I was going tonight.
Well, next I want to turn to one of the drivers who wasn't as lucky to escape through the kerfluffle in that first corner, Mo Smith. Mo, talk to me about sort of resetting your mind, getting back in the pits, getting that fast repair, and then getting back out there.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I got clobbered from behind at that second turn. And I knew at that moment the race was over. So all I could do was go back to the pits and get a new car, get the car repaired, and then just race the people that were in the pits. And go out and try and do some laps. So it was fun. Learn something every time, and that was I don't know what I could have done to avoid that crash, but it was a fun race after that.
It certainly looked that way. And then Kurt Pansgrau, I'm not sure exactly where the points are going to shake out after this, but for you coming back out of the pits like that, it looked like you were, just pushing down there and forcing some guys into error to move your way up to ninth. But how was it for you in the cockpit?
I just kind of took it easy after that first corner and then the 5-minute tow. It was the race was pretty much over at that point. So just tried to stay clean race and hope I would move up a little bit by other folks having some accidents or something.
I get that from you. Well, I also want to move down to Dave Hollers. Dave, how are you finding it out there? Oh, that's my bad. We don't have Dave at the moment, so
Dave's not here, man.
Yeah, Dave's
That's good.
Joe P coming in with the Cheech and Chong. But I do want to turn then to Grant Carpenter. Grant, that looked like a lot of fun. Not exactly what we're used to seeing these cars do. How do you like Le Mans versus something maybe a little more standard for these open wheelers?
It was a fun track. I had a iRacing crash somewhere around lap 4, so that kind of threw everything off, and then I got back on, never really got back into it. I wasn't going to be up at the top, but I was just hoping to catch up to maybe Dan or Dave somewhere in the middle, but put me in the back, but got some points and had a lot of fun.
Is that where you're starting to look at this point, just trying to get some points?
I'm really here to catch Curtis and Sheldon. That's all I'm here for.
Speaking of Todd Curtis, well, we've got him here as well. Todd, not the day I imagine you wanted. Looks like you and Rick had a little bit of coming together at one point.
It's interesting how these things go. I think from one perspective, you can say, hey, I broke in a predictable place. Our tires were cold and you should have expected it. On the other hand, we were racing for anything we can get coming out of the pits for the second time. And, I tried to get out of the way when it looked like I was going to come into the back of him and just clip the end. So I wish it would have gone differently. What can I say?
It happens to the best of us. It's easy to lose those brake markers, especially on the straights here at Le Mans. But, I mean, let's focus on maybe what I hope to be happier, you guys, because you've still got that track day coming up pretty soon, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wanted to go to Le Mans and see what it was all about, and I got a really good look at the pits for a long time. So it'll be nice to get a change of scenery. Our group will be up here at the Ridge a week from Friday, and then the big group of us together are going to be down at Thunderhill and Sonoma in a couple of weeks. So we're really looking forward to that.
We can't wait to hear.
It'll be nothing like today.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to hear the stories from that once you guys are able to get back. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I'll just like to say thanks to Dave Anderson, who's our intrepid race director, who helped us call the audible on changes to the format in this race, bringing in lots of cool people. The strength of the field today was amazing. Thank everybody, Steph and Anders, Tyler, Nolan, everybody who came out, Cam, Hayden. You guys really made this more exciting than I think it could have been otherwise. And when they say Pro-Am, I think the Am was pretty well represented over on this side, and you guys are pros. You look so good out there, and we all learned a lot, so thank you.
Always helps to have that experience around, I'm sure. That was Todd Curtis, 12th or 14th place today. Almost gave him 2 positions.
I'll take it.
Exactly. As we wrap things up, we, of course, want to thank a few people before we go as well. Starting off with the sponsors for the series, of course, Norsled, Save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing. And Flying Husky Racing themselves. Find out more on the web at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing. Track days are the best days. And of course, Turn 2.0 Drivers Club. Have fun. Be fast, or have fun. Be safe and go faster. VSRS Motorsports. Contact Rick Sheldon to learn more. Cool people, cool cars, cool events. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below, so it's nice and easy to get to. And while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we mentioned, in a week's time, we'll head off to Laguna Seca. It's off to California. That'll be Tuesday, March 16th, 11:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.